In this video today, I'll be teaching you a theory lesson about the key of C, and then how you can transpose it into something called the Nashville number system. What's up, guys? Jonathan Bauver from the Worship Room here with you today. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the button in the right-hand corner. While you're at it, go ahead and click on that bell. That way you'll get our latest video when it comes out. Don't be afraid to leave us a comment or two and tell us what you think. Also, give us a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and let us know how we can serve you. I'm really excited about teaching this lesson today. Theory is probably one of my favorite things to learn as a musician, although I certainly don't claim to be an expert on it. So my goal for making this video is to help all of you worship leaders, musicians, and singers that serve in local churches and ministries be able to grow in your understanding about how a particular key works. And in today's case, we'll be looking at the key of C, and then use that knowledge to be able to transform the way that you flow in worship using something called the Nashville number system. The Nashville number system simply gives each chord that is in a particular key a number. These numbers range from 1 to 7. The reason someone would use this number system is so that when playing live, you can give hand signals as to what chords you're playing, as well as flow into other songs without having to use a chord chart. The Nashville number system allows you to be able to have one set of chord sheets for each song, compared to having multiple chord sheets in different keys. If you learn the number system in all 12 keys, you'll no longer need to have multiple chord sheets, but just one chord sheet with numbers on them. But before we can implement the number system in a particular key, we must look at the foundational structure that gives us our numbers. So I'm going to be using a keyboard to show you all the notes that are in the key of C. We call this the major scale. Each key has a major scale, and there are 8 tonic notes. So the key of C goes like this: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. This is considered one octave. And if you notice, the 1 and the 8 are the same note, but just an octave apart. These notes are comprised of a particular pattern of whole steps and half steps that we use to comprise a major scale. And this pattern is in every key. If you don't understand this or would like to learn more about the pattern for a major scale, I've gone ahead and made a video, and I will put that link in the description box below. So now that we've identified the notes in the key of C, we will now give each note a number starting with C all the way up to B. We will count numerically up until we reach B. C equals 1, D equals 2, E equals 3, F equals 4, G equals 5, A equals 6, B equals 7. Now that we've identified those notes and given them numbers, we can now begin to build chords off these tonic notes. To do so, we will use major and minor triads, and a triad is just 3 notes that make up a chord. For example, C, the chord of C is made up of C, E, G. This is a major chord. Now comes a little bit more complicated pattern that we'll need to remember in any key that we transpose into numbers. The 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord are always going to be major chords, but the 2, 3, and 6 chords will be minor chords. Now, there are exceptions to these rules because music can be altered and expressed in all kinds of different ways, but for the purpose of what I'm trying to teach you today, we need to remember this rule. So let's go through each of these notes and turn them into chords, as well as identify what chords they are. So C, which is the 1 chord, is major. D, which is the 2 chord, is minor. E is the 3 chord and it's minor. F is the 4 chord and it's major. G is the 5 chord and it's major. A is the 6 chord and it's minor. B is the 7 chord and it happens to be diminished. Now that we know the chords that are in the key of C, as well as the Nashville numbers that go with them, we can begin to read numbers on a chord chart. Let's look at the song and the chorus, How Great Is Our God, and let's transpose the chords together. So we have C, which is 1. We have A minor, which is 6. We have F, which is 4. We have G, which is 5. And back to C. So how great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. So as you can see, we can use hand signals to tell each other what chords we are playing as long as we know what key that we're in. If a worship leader knows a song but doesn't have the chords in front of him, he can lead the band using hand signals. Now, I said earlier there are some exceptions for our rules for Nashville number systems being major and minor. I want to take a second and talk about one of those exceptions in particular when it comes to playing in a given key. That exception is inverted chords. For example, there are a couple of chords in a number system that can be inverted to have more of a complete walk-up feeling or sound. So if we change the 3 chord, and in this case it's an E minor, and we change it to a C over E, which is a 1/3 chord, it would sound like this. It actually has a little bit of a major sound, and we use an inverted chord in this sense for when we're walking up. So C, D minor, E over C, F, instead of C, D, E minor, F. And we can also do this with our 7 chord. Instead of the 7 being a diminished chord, we can now do a 5/7 chord, where we put the B in the left hand and a G in our right hand, and it kind of gives more of a complete feeling. I'll start from F. F, G, A, B, C. We can also do this with a couple of other numbers, but I think you get the idea. And those inverted chords help us connect that major scale feeling. So that's the exception. So it's good to know that we can substitute sometimes a E minor or a 3 chord for a 1/3, or a 7 chord for a 5/7, and there's a couple others, but for our purpose today, I won't go any further into that. So my challenge to you today is to memorize the number system for the key of C. Make note of what numbers are major and minor, and then also be aware that there are some inverted chords that help us make things sound better. Take this knowledge and try it with a couple of different songs that are written in the key of C. Thank you so much for joining me with this lesson. Be sure to check out my other videos where I dive into what the other 11 keys look like.